Franz Liszt's life was filled with passion, excess, and brilliance. A true revolutionary of music, he was adored across Europe for his breathtaking piano performances and his larger-than-life personality. Women fainted at his concerts, rival musicians envied his skill, and composers from Wagner to Chopin either admired or resented his flamboyant style. He was a man of extraordinary contradictions. On one hand, he was deeply religious, and on the other, he was notorious for his love affairs, wealth, and dramatic flair. But in his later years, the man who had once set concert halls ablaze with his virtuosity chose an unexpected path. He took minor orders in the Catholic Church and became Abbé Liszt. Liszt's turn toward religion was not as sudden as it might seem. From his youth, he had been fascinated by spirituality and Catholicism. His mother, Anna Liszt, was a devout woman who instilled a deep respect for faith in her son. As a child, Liszt had even considered joining the priesthood before his prodigious musical talent led him to a different destiny. However, even during his years of musical fame, he often reflected on spiritual matters. His compositions, such as the Dante Sonata, and later his Christus Oratorio, reveal an obsession with divine themes. As Liszt aged, personal tragedies and disillusionment with the world of fame and fortune drove him closer to religion. The death of his daughter, Blondine, in 1862 profoundly affected him. The loss devastated Liszt, and he retreated into solitude, questioning the meaning of his life. His romantic relationship with Princess Caroline von Sayn-Wittgenstein, a deeply religious woman, also influenced his spiritual inclinations. The two had planned to marry, but bureaucratic and political complications prevented it. Caroline encouraged Liszt's religious devotion, and he, in turn, sought solace in faith. In 1865, at the age of 54, Liszt traveled to Rome, where he took minor holy orders and was granted the honorary title of Abbé Liszt. This did not mean he became a full-fledged priest. He did not take the final vows that would have required celibacy and complete devotion to church duties, but he did adopt the cassock and spent much of his time in religious study and composition. This new identity did not, however, erase his past or his worldly attachments. While he now lived in a modest apartment in the Vatican, he still maintained his connections with aristocrats, artists, and intellectuals. Despite his religious commitment, Liszt never fully abandoned the pleasures of life. He continued traveling to Germany, Hungary, and France, splitting his time between sacred duties and music. Some critics saw his priesthood as a contradiction, given his history of love affairs and flamboyant lifestyle. Even after becoming Abbé Liszt, he maintained relationships with women, including the young students who adored him. He also enjoyed fine wine and lively conversation, making him an unconventional religious figure. His religious devotion, however, was sincere. He composed some of his most deeply spiritual works during this period, including Via Crucis and Missa Choralis. These compositions reflected a more introspective, somber Liszt, vastly different from the young virtuoso who had dazzled European audiences decades earlier. The showman had transformed into a philosopher, a mystic, a man seeking redemption. Liszt's dual life fascinated those around him. On one occasion, while staying in Weimar, he was seen wearing his priestly cassock while playing the piano with the same electrifying intensity of his youth. To some, it seemed that the forces of heaven and earth were still battling within him. He was a man who sought holiness but could never fully detach himself from the grandeur of his former life. As he grew older, Liszt's health deteriorated, but he remained committed to his faith and his music until the end. He spent his last years traveling, teaching, and composing, all while keeping one foot in the spiritual world. He died in 1886 in Bayreuth, Germany, at the age of 74. Even in death, he left behind a legacy of contradiction, a man who had lived as a superstar, a lover, a priest, and a saintly musician all in one lifetime. Franz Liszt's transformation into Abbé Liszt is a testament to the complexity of human nature. He was both sacred and profane, humble and grand, deeply devout yet unable to let go of his worldly desires. His journey from musical god to religious devotee remains one of the most fascinating stories in classical music history.